You keep smoothing over that flicker of discomfort when your plans no longer excite you and pretend nothing is wrong. You call it loyalty to your path, but it's habit chaining you to a version of yourself that quietly stopped fitting. Every day, you push down that growing sense of mismatch, thinking tomorrow will feel easier if you just try harder. The danger isn't that you'll lose yourself, but that you'll never outgrow who you were. At first, the discomfort is almost invisible. You get dressed, head out, and do the work you were trained for. On the surface, you look collected, organized, in control, just as everyone expects. But every night, when the world goes quiet around you, something presses in a band, tightens on your chest. You wake up, already tired, though you slept just fine. That exhaustion isn't from lack of rest. It's coming from somewhere more hidden. There's a part of you that worked overtime just to keep one mask in place. You play a part flawlessly, but somewhere along the way, it became an obligation. On Providence, he faces this directly. Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. The growing pressure you feel isn't a sign of failure. It's what happens when you keep squeezing yourself into a self that can't keep up. Not all pain is a wound. Sometimes pain is just you, outgrowing your limits and feeling every inch of the stretch. Maybe you notice it in conversations. You answer every question right. But it's as if you're watching someone else in your own seat. You paste a smile on your face. The harder you try, the more distant you feel. And when the mask finally slips, something unexpected enters. The raw silence of not knowing who you are without it. Nobody else seems to notice. You keep appointments, run errands, keep up every routine. The tightness only grows stronger when the room empties or when the phone is finally silent. This is not about laziness or burnout. What you're feeling isn't a breakdown, but a warning. The version of you that survived until now is running out of road. Don't look away from this. When everything around you still works, but you feel like you're losing touch with yourself, that's the warning light. And here's what stings. The self that kept you safe now holds you back. The pressure to keep performing as that old self slowly becomes a cage. The more you strain to maintain what's familiar, the more exhausted you'll feel, not because you're weak, but because you're pushing against your own next step. If that sounds close to home, don't look for comfort here. You can't solve this by doubling down or by putting on an even better performance. You can only meet it by letting the old part of you loosen its grip and watching what remains. Maybe you've missed it before. You cannot grow if you refuse to change shape. Seneca believed that when we cling to what no longer fits, we trade growth for shallow security. You wake up and the day greets you with routines, plans, and even a sense of competence. But the energy is gone before you begin, not because you lack sleep, but because something inside is worn out from keeping up a performance. You move through meetings, cook meals, laugh on cue, repeat all the lines you know by heart, and with every step, something inside you pulls further away. Each conversation feels like there's a small invisible split, a secret gap between what you do and how you feel. The reason is simple. Your old self has become a shield, but now it's a weight. There is no public collapse, no headline moment, but inside, the tension builds quietly every time you ignore the nudge to let go. If you've ever noticed how tightly you hold to the familiar, even when it stings, this is why. The mind clings to comfort, and comfort tricks us with the illusion of safety. The job you used to love can suddenly feel empty. Moments that once gave you joy sound hollow and rehearsed. The road ahead, so clear just last year, now dissolves into fog. Outgrowing your old self will always feel like losing everything until you realize what's leaving is just an old disguise. All the while, your role is whispering, keep holding on, don't let go. This is who you're supposed to be. On the Happy Life, he warned us bluntly, no man was ever wise by chance. But think about how much you sacrificed just to keep playing a character that no longer fits. Would you rather stay numb or to risk the discomfort of stripping away an old mask? This isn't about healing or fixing, at least not first. It's about ending the cycle that demands you keep proving you're still the person you outgrew. Stop for a moment. Would you even recognize your real self if all these routines vanish tonight? Sometimes the greatest risk is doing nothing at all. And here's the cruel trick. The more intensely you try to reclaim that old certainty, the more tired you become. It's not a lack of will, it's a slow drain. As every bit of energy fights your own transformation, you can't build a new life by clinging harder to the old one. But what actually happens if you finally let the old self step aside? Most of us imagine that letting go will feel like failure, or worse, like erasing our entire foundation. What if you walk away from the role, the plan, the image you spent years building? Who's left standing in that silence? The answer isn't a blank space, it's a raw, momentary confusion, like stepping out of a dark theater and blinking into sunlight. For a heartbeat, nothing fits, but then, strangely, possibility cracks open. You see that all the effort poured into holding a role was never the point, it was just a scaffold, never the real structure. Letting the disguise fall does not mean losing yourself, it's the chance to breathe as something more honest. One real example, someone who leaves a career they chose at 19. The world expects stability, a growing title, a fixed path. But after years of chasing the next promotion, they notice a grinding fatigue, a subtle hostility toward their own reflection. Eventually they quit, not because there's a bright future mapped out, but because staying means folding in on themselves. That first morning without the old routine, they feel exposed, unmoored. Yet after the panic, something else stirs, a hint of excitement under the fear. With the false certainty gone, they have to ask questions they've buried for years. Why did I make those choices? What am I drawn to now? That uncertainty becomes fuel. Simple errands, old hobbies, even quiet walks start to carry a different feeling, alive but unfamiliar. Here's a fact you may not like hearing. Surrendering that old self will often feel more like grief than freedom, at least at first. Pause and hear that. Every shortcut to skip this discomfort is just another way of slipping back into the costume. The philosopher pressed hard on this point on the shortness of life. The greatest obstacle to living is expectation. Expectation that you should already know who you are or always have a plan. Letting go means staring at a future that isn't written yet, and that emptiness, it's the actual door to something that belongs only to you. Step through it, even trembling, and you finally stop fighting yourself. You keep smoothing over that flicker of discomfort when your plans no longer excite you, and pretend nothing is wrong. Letting go requires facing the unknown and embracing the painful process of growth. If this resonated with you, subscribe to the channel and comment below. What part of yourself are you willing to release to find freedom?